no legendary sea monster was as horrifying as the Kraken. According to eyewitness accounts, dating all the way back to ancient Greece, this colossal, multiple-armed creature could reach as high as the top of a sailing ship's main mast. The Kraken would attack a ship by wrapping their arms around the hull until it would capsize. The crew would later succumb to drowning or worse, being eaten alive by the sea monster. However, what's more amazing about the Kraken stories is that now we have hard evidence that this creature was based on something real. So when were the first specimens of the Kraken collected? How many accounts of ship attacks have there been in history? And has there ever been one captured alive? Let's try and find out.
Hello, I'm Mike Droberg, a Marine Corps veteran and filmmaker, and we will try to answer these questions on today's episode of Forgotten History.
Legendary tales of a huge, multiple-armed, or multiple-headed, horned sea creature exist dating back to ancient times. Greek legend of the Scylla, a monster with 6 heads that Odysseus sailed past during his travels, is but one example of this lore. In 1555, Aulus Magnus wrote of a sea creature with sharp and long horns, roundabout, like a tree rooted up by its roots. They are 10 or 12 cubits long, very black, and with huge eyes. The Kraken was then described at the turn of the 18th century by Francesco Negri in 1700. This description was followed in 1734 by an account from a Dano-Norwegian missionary and explorer, Hans Agadi. He described the Kraken in detail and equated it with the mythical Havgufa of medieval lore. The term Kraken was first found in print in Systema Naturae by Carolus Linnaeus in 1735, in which he referred to stories about this monster dating back to 12th century Norway. According to the Norwegian dictionary, a crake from Old Norse means malformed or crooked tree. Then in 1752, the Bishop of Bergen, Erik Ludvigsen Pontoppidan, wrote The Natural History of Norway, and he described the Kraken as incontestably the largest sea monster in the world, with a width of 1.5 miles. The bishop also noted that the animal had a starfish-type protuberances. It seems these are the creature's arms, and it is said if they were to lay hold of the largest man-of-war ship, they would easily pull it down to the bottom. Despite this, Pontoppidan says that the most danger the Kraken represented to ships came from the disturbance it made as it came to the surface, or the whirlpool it created as it descended below. Because fish were attracted to the vicinity of the Kraken, he also notes, Norwegian fishermen would often fish over the creature, despite the risk to their ships and lives. Well, could a large squid, say 100 feet long and weighing 2 or 3 tons, attack a small ship by accident and capsize it? Given that some of the ocean-crossing vessels at the time were very small, for example, Columbus's Pinta was only 60 feet in length, it certainly seems a possibility. Allegedly, this is what occurred to the sailing ship of the coast of Angola in the 17th century, and the incident inspired this picture. One of the first stories with hard evidence about the Kraken took place in 1783 off the coast of Newfoundland. 2 men and a boy, Tom Picot, were fishing when they saw a large object floating on the surface of the water. They rowed over to investigate, and the object suddenly came to life. It was a massive squid, and it grabbed their boat with its long tentacles. They estimated that it was 35 feet long, and soon water began to pour in the boat. Fearing the boat would capsize, Tom Picot grabbed a tomahawk and began chopping at the tentacles, severing 2 of them. The creature, wounded, fell back into the sea, emitting a cloud of black ink as it disappeared back under the depths. When the fishermen got to shore, the young Picot took one of the tentacles to a Reverend Dr. Moses Harvey, a local amateur naturalist. Harvey gave Picot $10 for the specimen and later wrote about what was the first scientific evidence that these creatures actually existed. He stated how my heart pounded as I drew it out of the tub in which he carried it, coil after coil, to the length of 19 feet, strong and tough as leather, and about as thick as a man's wrist. I knew at a glance it was one of the tentacles or long arms of the giant cuttlefish, Eureka. Over the following years, many more specimens of giant squid were found, confirming its existence, helping the legend of the Kraken to grow. Another documented encounter between a ship and a giant squid occurred in 1861 when the French corvette Electon was sailing near Tenerife in the Canary Islands. The Electon was a 570-ton French paddle wheeler powered by a 120 horsepower steam engine and sails on 2 masts. As the ship neared the island, the lookout yelled, "Ahoy!" A large body, partly submerged on the surface. Captain Frederick Boyer later described the object as a gigantic squid. Captain Boyer knew if he could capture the creature, it would be a major discovery. The captain ordered his crew to man their battle stations, to fire muskets, launch harpoons, and try to ensnare the squid with a noose. The bullets seemed to do little damage to the squid's rubbery body. They finally managed to bring the ship alongside and slip a rope around the squid's body. However, the weight was so great that when they tried to haul it aboard, the squid's body was torn in two, and they only recovered part of its tail. The piece of tail weighed over 30 pounds. The captain preserved the specimen, and it was later given to a museum. Jules Verne, in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, his famous novel about Captain Nemo and his submarine the Nautilus, mentions this encounter. Verne describes the Kraken this way: "Before my eyes was a horrible monster, worthy to figure in the legends of the marvelous. It was an immense cuttlefish, 8 yards long. It swam crossways in the direction of the Nautilus with great speed, watching us with its enormous staring green eyes. Its 8 arms, fixed to its head, that gave the name of cephalopod to these animals, were twice as long as its body and were twisted like furies of hair. One could see the 250 air holes on the inner side of its tentacles. The monster's mouth, a horned beak like a parrot's, opened and shut vertically. Its tongue, a horned substance, furnished with several rows of pointed teeth, came out quivering from this veritable pair of shears. What a freak of nature." In 1874, newspapers around the world published a sensational story about an attack by a giant squid on the 150-ton schooner Pearl. The story goes that the Pearl was sailing in the North Atlantic when it was attacked by a giant creature. According to Captain James Flood, the creature was half the length of the schooner, but just as thick. The captain took up his rifle and shot the creature with seemingly no effect. The crew grabbed axes and cutlasses and fought the creature while the creature's giant tentacles pulled the schooner over by her rigging. The schooner was capsized and sank, throwing the crew into the sea. Reportedly, a nearby ship, the Strathowen, witnessed the attack and was able to rescue the crew of the Pearl. The Kraken first appeared in cinema in the silent films of the 1910s and 20s. The Kraken was often portrayed using stock footage of an octopus in a bathtub attacking a toy ship. This footage appeared in George Méliès's 1906 film Under the Seas and was recycled in many other films. In 2006, this female giant squid attacked a piece of bait suspended 650 meters beneath a Japanese research vessel from the National Science Museum of Japan, off the coast of Japan in the Ogasawara Islands. The research team pulled a 7-meter, 24-foot squid to the surface and videotaped her. It was the first time a giant squid was filmed alive. In 2012, researchers were able to capture a video of a giant living squid living in its natural habitat for the first time. Many other videos of the giant squid would soon follow. And on that note, a word of advice from experts. They recommend being wary of boating areas where giant squid are known to exist, or if your sonar shows you're traveling over a deep trench of immeasurable depth. The Kraken may no longer be hiding in the deep. He might be lurking just below the surface. Let us know your thoughts on the Kraken in the comments below.
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments or show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.